I am Dr. Jim McKay. Welcome to my channel. I am a dentist entrepreneur as well as a business coach, and I have a passion to help women avoid burnout, particularly dentists and other female medics, by redesigning their lives and living their best life now, like living life on their own terms. So, one of the things that I've noticed or that has come up in conversation a lot has been self-confidence. So I wanted to come on here so we can have a conversation about self-confidence. What exactly is it? And what can you do if that is a challenge that you're facing? So, confidence, we all know what that means. It's that state of certainty. Like I'm confident that it's Sunday today, that. And self-confidence is really just the ability to trust ourselves. And I'm sure you're asking, like, why are we having a hard time trusting ourselves? Because a lot of women, I know for sure, a lot of women struggle with self-confidence, and this struggle actually limits their growth and their potential to walk into their calling and walk into what God has called them to do. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about it. So in my line of work, I am a dentist, but my practice is focused on implant dentistry. If you know that, that is a male dominated area of dentistry. It's surgeries, and most women kind of shy away from that. So I have dealt with, a lot of trying to gain competence, which is kind of what I did. I've got so many degrees, I take all these CE courses. And a lot of women actually do that because we are so focused on trying to prove to other people that we are enough that we miss the opportunity to step into our full potential. So, in order to be successful, know that competence and confidence are two different things. And in my opinion, you need 1 tablespoon of competence and 2 tablespoons of confidence, like for you to be successful. And that is the winning ratio or the winning recipe, in my opinion. So today I want to talk about actionable tips. Like, how does a woman who was, for most of the ladies that I talk to, how is a woman who has done all the work and now you are struggling with being able to think that you're good enough for that job, or even coming on here and speaking outside or in a business meeting? How do you work on that confidence? So one of the things that I've been here, like I said, I'm a dentist, but I'm in a field that is dominated by men. But now I am there. I'm at the point where, even in the field of implant dentistry, if you were going to mention 5 women here in town, um, I am going to be one of those you're going to mention. If you're going to mention 10 women across the nation, my name comes up. And I'm saying that humbly because I have had to walk this journey. And like I always say on a lot of my videos, a lot of the things that is holding us back, we can get over it. We just have to do the inner work. And that's kind of where we're missing it, because a lot of us don't want to do that inner work. So I'm going to give you some actionable tips, things that I know that I have done over the years, that has helped me become as successful as I am, that is helping me just grow in becoming who God has called me to be. The first one is to cultivate a positive inner voice. So a positive inner voice, unfortunately, is not our default. Our default is this inner critic that tells you you're not enough, that you can't do it, that they're all men, so you shouldn't be in the room. Or if you're in the room, you need to be quiet. That is our default, unfortunately. So you will have to cultivate this inner voice, and you're going to have to nurture it. The reason why you have to nurture it is because, like I said, it's not your default. So you have to know that it's there and begin to work on that voice so that you can give it strength. So you're going to say, I am enough. I can do it. I have a right to be in this room just like every other person has a right to be in this room. So it comes with a lot of affirmation in both what we say to each other, but also in our actions, standing up and showing up. And that's another thing. You need to learn to show up. So when a lot of times when we're in the meetings as women, we shrink. We're not shrinking violets. Like we need to bloom. So it's going to be that inner work trying to get yourself to really show up as who you want to be. Just remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Like you have to allow yourself to be tiny. And I don't want to be tiny. The other thing we need to do when we start talking about self confidence, in my opinion, is that we need to define our purpose and our boundaries. And this, of course, most of you know, if you've listened to some of my videos on self love, that it's important that you define who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, then you would answer to any name. If you don't know what your purpose is, then you're going to be distracted and all over the place. And then you lose confidence because then you're showing up in an arena where that's not your arena. And then you're not getting the results you thought you would get. And now that all works in pulling you down. So understanding who you are, getting clarity on what your purpose is, and also setting boundaries, which I think a lot of women, we have a hard time doing that, both at work and at play. It's okay to say no. Say it now. No. It's a very easy word. We teach it to our kids when they're very young. We say no, no. And when we tell them no after a while, if they're taking their hands to the pot and we say no, guess what happens? After a while, when we say no, they pull their hands away. We need to set boundaries in our lives. It's okay to say no. You cannot be the jack of all trades and the master of none. A lot of times in the corporate world, when women are dealing with self-confidence issues, is because they're spread so thin, because they said yes to every project, or we're so afraid that if we don't say yes to that opportunity today, that is our one chance. No, if this is where God has called you to, He's not going to give you more than you can handle. And so sometimes it's okay to say no. And no doesn't mean never. Sometimes it means just not now. Hmm? Um, Here's one topic: dressing well. You have to dress for success. Like if you look good, you'll feel good. And I think this is so important as we begin to talk about self confidence, that the way we show up mentally, but the way we show up physically is equally as important. If you show up all not well put together, nobody's going to really trust you. Or if you show up not well put together, they don't have confidence in you, right? Because you don't look the part. So we've got to look the part as women. As we're beginning to up level and beginning to demand more, we need to look the part. Focus on your strengths. And that's something that we don't do. Like focus on what you do well. Again, that goes to saying no. Sometimes you are given an opportunity, or you think it's an opportunity, but it doesn't play into your strengths. And so you show up, but you're given substandard quality because that's not your strength. It's okay to say no to those. Like learn who you are first, and then you can do all of this. And then also learn to look back so you can charge forward. So here's the thing. Like for a lot of women, we downplay our successes. Mhm. So we downplay our successes, but we enlarge our failures. It should be the other way around. We should downplay our failures. And that's why I said you need to charge forward. And we're going to talk a little bit. I wrote a few things here. Learn to look back so you can charge forward. I'm going to talk about the successes and the failures in a minute. But gratitude. A lot of times when we're such in a funk because we're just not where we think we should be, or our self-confidence is so low, can you take a moment to look back and see where you've come from? I do that all the time. Take a moment and look back at what you consider little successes that you've made. It's still a success. It doesn't matter the size, success is a success. Also, so I really believe that in the walk and in the journey to being self-confident, that you should make gratitude a habit. I have a gratitude journal, and you begin to journal things, and you can look back on those days when you're just not feeling like you're enough, and look at all the things you've accomplished. And hopefully that would give you a little hump, and then you can keep going. So, challenge. The other thing is you have to challenge all the self limiting beliefs. Like those things suck us in so bad. So the doubt, the fear, the imposter syndrome, we all know what that is. If you're watching this, you've probably been there where you're like, I don't think I qualify for the job. Yes, you do. I'm afraid, or I'm not good enough. Why do they want me? Those are that again is that voice, that inner critic that keeps creeping up. And until you nail that critic, like just totally cut off its head, like you would always have to deal with that. um own your achievements, ladies. Like, brag a little. I have to tell myself this. When I introduce myself, I'm with a group of people. I almost want to be that quiet. Like I said, I want to be just a quiet giant. No, own your strengths. Like, brag a little about what you've done. Because if you're at that table, you've put in the work to sit at that table. It's okay to brag a little, to do it humbly, of course, but it increases your confidence. Like I told you at the beginning of this, if you were counting on one hand the female implant dentist in the nation, I should be on that list, rightfully so, because I've done the work. Also, we need to contain our failures. This is what I was talking about. We're so focused on our failures. Like every failure is like an oak tree. We need to cut down that tree because everybody's failed before. We need to replace that oak tree of failure with an oak tree of achievement. That's what we need to focus on. Not how many times we fell, but how many times we rose. And that's so important for you to begin to build the confidence, to raise your chest and say, yes, I can do this. Yes, I got this. And a lot of times that holds us back because our head, that inner critic, is constantly replaying everything that we've done wrong. Let me see what else I wrote here. I said, draw your growth circle, identify your role models, and connect with them. That's going to be another thing. Our inner circle is so important in our growth, but it's also important in our inner growth. Like you being confident of who you are and what you have to offer is going to be magnified or diminished by the people around you. So begin to work on your growth circle. I had another video about this. The people you do life with, the mentors you have, the mentees you pull forward. We're all in this journey, and somebody's always pulling us forward. We're always pulling someone forward. Somebody's always pulling us up. We're always pulling someone up, and there's always someone by our side. That's how we're supposed to do life. Identify these role models and you connect with them. A few years ago, so my journey in implant dentistry, it started a while ago, but in terms of being a thought leader, did not start until I connected with my mentor. But I made that decision. I saw this mentor. He's an implant dentist as well. I knew that he was well recognized all over the world, and I knew that I wanted something he had. So I made the connection. A lot of times what we're thinking is that people that mentor, people that are already at the top of their game, we make the assumption that they don't have time. I promise you, mentorship is the lifeline to success. Every mentor is so full, they want to pour out. Every mentee needs to pull in. So don't ever say that you don't think a mentor is going to have time for you. Try. Every mentor that I have reached out to has never said no. every person that God has put so much in always has enough to give other people most of the time. So that's, I say, identify your role models and you connect with them. Okay, don't wait for chance. So a lot of people think life. So someone asked me, how did you start teaching in implant dentistry? There is intention. When you set intention, and this is me going off tangent, but when we all, at the beginning of the year, you set intention, a lot of people just kind of think it in their heads like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a great year. Yeah, I'm going to do this. No, I believe in the power of setting intention and then looking for manifestation. So the year I met my implant mentor, I wrote in my journal that this year I want to start teaching because I had a passion to teach. Now, trust me, I had no idea. I was in my little practice doing my work, but I set my intention and I began to look for the manifestation. And guess what? Purpose found me. So that's one of the things that I think really helps when you start thinking about self-confidence. As you begin to put these things into practice and things begin to work for you, then you begin to do more and you begin to walk towards your purpose. Now, this is a big one because we've talked about this several times. Stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison will kill your purpose, will steal it away. Always remember that you are so uniquely made. What you have, the gifts that you have, the talents that you have, in the portion you have it, is unique to you alone. Got it? Yeah, it's unique to you alone. So when you compare yourself to others, it's not apples to apples. And you would rather be an original than a copy of somebody else, right? So one of, we all say that we're like, stop comparing yourselves. Let me tell you how I deal with that. The first thing is when I when I find myself comparing, I go back and count my blessings. It refocuses me all the time. You're comparing, oh my gosh, she has those shoes. That's just an example, right? But then you count your blessings like, man, last year, God got me two nice purses. Like it changes the perspective, right? So it's not a matter of that they have something you don't have. Now it's a matter of we just have different things. And so you can focus more on you. Stop focusing on other people. Identify the frenemies and cut them off. Like, I think this is so important for self-confidence. If you're around people who say they're your friends, but they're constantly pulling you down, that is not a nurturing environment for growth. And a lot of times we're so, how do I say this? We're so addicted to wanting to be friends with people that we lose the addiction to want to be who God called us to be. We should be more hungry for the future, this bright future that is ahead of us. But instead, we're we're so afraid. Is that the word? Yeah, we're so afraid to not be friends with people who were really not friends with you in the first place. So you've got to clean that inner circle. It's so important that the people, and then when you decide to separate, what happens a lot of times, it's kind of like when the girl breaks up with the boyfriend and then doesn't spend that time doing something else, they'll fall back in that same relationship, right? Once you identify the people in your inner circle that maybe are not supposed to be there and you decide to separate, you've got to fill the spots with a circle of supporters and motivators. Look, ladies, you've got one life, this life, right? And we need to make the best of it. And it's your life. And so when you're paying more attention to somebody else, you're not doing yourself a favor. So that's kind of what that's all I'm going to say about that for now, right? We can talk deeper about that at another session. The next thing is take care of yourself. Like, take care of you. Self love is so important in your ability to begin to build your confidence. Eat well, sleep well, exercise, meditate, pray. Your spiritual well being is equally as important as your physical well being. And I think a lot of times we are this malnourished being, right? It's kind of like if you were eating rice all the time and you didn't have other foods, like you're malnourished. You're full, but you've got the wrong food. And so if you went to your doctor would say your blood work is not great. So even though you were eating, your blood work's not great because you were not ingesting the right things and in the right proportions. So, when we talk about health and well being and self love, a lot of us are so focused on, oh, self love means I go to the spa, and it is that. Self love means I eat well. It is that. But self love also means you exercise your body. Ladies, we've got to get up and walk. We've got to get up and do something, right? You go out, you walk, you run, you do whatever you want, you get on your bike, you feel so much better. And as you do that, you begin to look so much better. Like one feeds the other. And when you look better, you speak with more confidence. Like, if you notice when you look good, when you walk into a room and you look good, like your shoulders go up high, it's just a natural thing that happens. It's a very subconscious thing that happens, but you have to put the work in. And meditating and praying, like our spiritual life is so important. For me, it's the lifeline for everything I do. Being able to know that I'm in line with I'm aligned with His will for me. So, whatever you believe in, but for me, being aligned with God, what God has for me, being able to hear that inner voice, being able to get direction, it gives me confidence because you know what? He created all things. So, I know He can't lead me wrong. So, if I go wrong, it's either I never heard Him or I half has heard Him. Yeah. So the more I listen, the more I tune in, the more I lean in, the more confident I am about the outcome of whatever it is that I have before Him. And then, I always say, you know, confidence, there's going to be practice. Like you're going to practice it because confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You're not going to wake up and be confident like, oh, I wasn't confident yesterday, I'm confident today. No, there's going to be the inner work that you will do. And it's so different for each one of us. But once you start doing that inner work, you would begin to see it. And remember, it's not an overnight thing. We've got to work on it to be more confident. So I hope I was able to share just a little bit of insight into just little things that you can do or even mindset that you have that may be counter self-confidence, that may be working against you. If this video was really helpful or you really took some pointers from there, please subscribe, like it and subscribe, and please share with your friends. My handle on social media is Dr. Jumoke. That's DrJumoke. As you can tell, my YouTube channel is new, and I'm hoping to have more new content in it every week. I am a business coach, like I said, and I am starting officially my coaching for female medics that to avoid burnout. That's the whole point in the next few months. So please subscribe to my newsletter as well. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information, a lot of actionable tips on there for women to be better, to want better. And what other person that can help you than me? Why am I qualified? Because I'm a woman just like you. I've been able to scale a 7-figure dental practice while still living life on my own terms. I'm available to my family, my children, my husband. I get to do the things that I love to do. I did get to the point of burnout sometime in my life, and I had to reassess and redesign my life. And I figured out what the happy me looked like, and I built my life around it. And I can help you do the same. Until next time, this is Dr. Jim McKay, and remember, you are enough.